Let's do a little that, a little this. There we go. I think I'm good to go now across both ends inside the trading room and on social media. So, with saying that, at least the IMRA, a stock that is not necessarily moving here. We were very hopeful to see this make a big squeeze over to at some point throughout the day. At any point, really, please. But no, I mean, the stock ended up beginning to make a pop from pre-market. It ended up giving us a few different bounces across the morning session. So this was one of a few that were pretty good to us, at least early on. And it ended up making a nice run from that point. I ended up jumping in off of 165 here right before it ended up making the test of the highs. Well timed, at least. That actually took most of my losses away. I'm still down on the day like 150, but this was like one of my worst performance days, like really in a long time. So not happy to say that, but it's needed to be said because we're not all perfect. But I'm not going to try and be a shooter out there and try and flip my day around randomly. I mean, listen, if I end up in the negative, it is what it is. But I ended up doing well on this stock to where it cleared out most of my losses. I was down a lot heading into the day, so it ended up popping from 165 ish. I ended up getting out at 183 on most of my position, got in and out again on a quick scalp, but then ended up missing this last bounce here as it made the move up to 2. Hey, it's been trying to make that re-break of 2 across the day. If I put a line here on the chart, give me a quick sec. You'll see most recently it really tried to give it a go on the last few attempts. Fell short here, fell short here. So, listen, it's still near the highs. I'll come back to this at the tail end here, see if it ends up making the final push. But for right now, I want to see if there's just better trades right now. One stock that was doing pretty nicely for the afternoon, session, late morning, early afternoon. Bobby J. Bed Bath Beyond ended up making a big squeeze early this morning, perhaps recovering from over the weekend and from the last like 2 weeks really prior to that. Ended up making such a steep drop off from there, but ended up popping after the open, pulled back. Now at that point, I kind of called it out looking for the bounce off the VWAP, but once it stalled out from there, and I took a small loss in that position, I moved away. So it ended up just chopping around the VWAP. Fortunately, for those that may have stuck around, if you had the patience like Chuck did inside our live trading room, one of our longtime students, man, thankfully it paid off. But, I said it just in Traders Talk yesterday. I don't look to be in these trades for like an hour or 2 hours time. We have better things to do with our lives, folks. I mean, more often than not, you don't tend to see this type of continued move up. So thankfully, with the market squeezing up and Bed Bath Beyond being a stock that's taken such a hit lately, and it's a more volatile stock in general, this was like one of the better moves at least. So thankfully, it paid off for those that were patient. Hey, for right now, it still could be pretty volatile. It's up over 11%. Perhaps there's one more run back up on this trade. Markets are still holding strong. I'm not going to put this on the main list just yet. I'll put it on the side list with IMRA. All right, so for those keeping score at home, that's 2 on the side list, 0 on the main list. All right, so let's go from top to bottom now, though. We talked about the top percent gainer here. SHPH, untradeable. It's making a big move up, or it has from the, mid-afternoon so far. Ended up making this bigger squeeze up across the mid-morning. It got halted like 2 times up, 2 times down. If you're looking to play lotto, this could be your stock, but I'm not looking to do that here. So, I always like to phrase it bluntly like that because, listen, we have new students joining us here. So, you see such a mover like that, your eyes go bug-eyed. You're like, oh my God, I want to jump into that. I want to be a part of that next big run. Well, hey, that stock's up 39%, right? We've actually done a lot better on IMRA. That's up 58%. It seems like a slower mover, quote unquote, but, it made a bigger move net percent wise. So, just keep that in mind. You don't need to trade the stock that is making the biggest net dollar move because those often have bigger spreads, thinner volume on the book. AZRE here, I mean, hey, $4 stock. Order book is pretty liquid for the most part. Iceberg on the ask at 486. It's had a nice sneaky day today. It's my first look on the stock, actually. So looks like we missed the morning pop at first, like probably off of low volume there, but, accumulated across the day and is still pushed up pretty nicely. I don't mind giving this a look. I'll put this on our main watch list here, the AZRE trade. I think this also could be shortable on TradeStation. Just double check there. And also double check on your platform because if it fails to break higher from here or makes, the false break of 5, then tanks right back down, that could be a pretty good short opportunity. SLQT. All right. Well, talking about watching the grass grow, right? I mean, this thing is just kind of slowly churned up across the day. Not exactly my cup of tea, but with that, it's at the highs. Hopefully this becomes a lot more volatile, fast moving of a stock here heading into the close. It's tough to ask for because you happen to have some bigger orders on the ask here at 49, 50, 52, 53 even. So, I'll put it on our main list, but I wouldn't expect a whole lot in terms of like, cents. Look for maybe like 5 cents, maybe the test up to 150 and see what happens from that point. SIDU, I had a feeling this would happen. I see the price here on the right side of the scanner. So this had a tough time really trying to break back above resistance off of 350, but really it was 345. That was like the CVP level from Bookmap and, the price level that's had the most amount of volume traded off of it. So saying that, geez, once this came down, moved up, tried to give it a go here, but held really well. And then from that point, obviously, came right back down. I think the stock was shortable for us at one point in the past, but hard to borrow today, so I wasn't able to take part in that short. I would have expected that drop off though. All right, a couple of other like non-familiar names here, like DYN, CRKN. Oh, that's a cheapie. GKOS. I don't know, $57 stock. I've never seen this really before. Ended up making a big move from the morning though, off of pretty low volume. So, similar to the SHPH, more expensive even. Just there's no need. Bigger and better fish in the sea to catch. Um, Nut X. I mean, hey, we're familiar with this one from yesterday. This one kind of took over by storm. Ended up popping shortly after the market opened up. It was not on our morning watch list. It wasn't really showing any activity in pre-market, and popped right out the gate. So we did really well on this stock, but came back down. I was not expecting a full trip or almost a full trip back up to the highs again today. So this one also kind of snuck under the radar. But yeah, pulling back down right now. I don't know. I'm not too particular about it here. I also have to build up a good watch list for Fausto in the phase 3 class, folks. I don't want to look bad in front of him. He's going to be trading these stocks mostly heading into the close. So, I want to do a good job, build up a good list. I want to jump back to a stock. I just kind of glossed over there for a moment, AMRS. But I saw Michael talk about Tupperware earlier. And, hey, it's kind of holding strong here, right? This one, for as much as it dropped off yesterday, is making a dead cat bounce. It's just a little slow right now. It's not really trading a lot of volume, a little flat, like Mike said. For right now, I'm going to pass, but would it shock me that it pops a little bit higher here coming up? No. Now this looks a little bit sharper for the moment here. The blue apron trade, a stock that we are familiar with, like Tupperware, but just broke out from resistance here, like seemingly from the chart right off of 633, 632-ish here, right? Ran up pretty nicely. Should it pull back? Wouldn't shock me to see it kind of fall in between 633 and like the previous peak at the time, like 637 there. We'll see what happens here on this blue apron trade. I like this. We'll put this on our main list and at the top. Oh, the stock I kind of glossed over there briefly, AMRS. This actually looked pretty good. I mean, compare this to the other one, like the Slowpoke SLQT that I have on the main list. This is still kind of holding strong, but that other one, AMRS, it's moving back up to the highs here, so it could be ready for another pop, breaking over the 40,000 share order on the ask at 320. If I put one on, I feel like I'll put the other. All right, we're building up a good list, and they're mainly more like level 1 to 2 stocks, if anything. So, I feel like any one of us inside our live trading room should feel comfortable looking for icebergs on these trades. Dealing with the liquidity. IQ. Wow, IQ's had a really nice trend across the day. Benefiting from the market push today. I'm sure China markets have been pretty strong. If I take a look on like Yin Chinese ETF, but IQ nonetheless making a very strong recovery. The issue on this stock, it's like almost too liquid. This doesn't really have much volume out there collectively, or I'm sorry, it has like too much volume out there collectively on the bid and the ask. So even here, like 35K, 45K, you really need a strong push on this IQ. It's been trending up nicely. I'll come back to this one at the end. Good chance I slipped this one on here. Go back to Bobby J here really fast. I got a private chat from one of our students on that actually. So Bed Bath Beyond hasn't done a whole lot since we last left off with it, but if you're hopeful for another squeeze up, this has been volatile enough to look for it. But I feel like it's more exhausted now here than anything. We'll see. Come back to this just at the tail end here. Let's hop over to the losers list right now. Now, folks, there's a lot more that's like up that 5% that I look for. So I say it every day, but I really mean it on a day like today where the markets are, very directional in one way or the other. So with the markets screaming up, there's a lot of stocks that are up more than that 5%. So if there's anything else that looks good, let me know. Type it in the chat boards. Tell you what's not looking good. It's looking good as a short. Viru, geez, this thing got clobbered today, and I didn't really see any like negative news on it. Maybe it's just speculation. Maybe there's some folks that know something that we don't. Now, I actually went over this with one of my students in a coaching session earlier today, Ray, and he just we were talking about actually ISEE from yesterday, the one that had phase 3 news. And, it had a nice run yesterday. I was looking for a lot more on that trade. If we want to quickly look at ISE, did not really get a whole lot more on ISE today. Obviously dropped in pre-market, but, no real play on this for the most part. It was a better short once it broke it under its opening bell print. Now, getting back to Viru, though, why do I bring this up? Well, Ray was asking, like, hey, when was the last time you remember like a stock that came out with phase 3 news of some sort? The one that we actually traded. You know what I mean? He actually asked, what led to Viru's move up back in like July? Was it that? And lo and behold, I'm not a newsman. I don't remember, and it actually was whatever drug they were working on came out. It was phase 3 positive news across their clinical trial. So that's what led to this big pop back in mid-April. And then from there was more news that came out in July and led to this giant run up on Viru. I wasn't expecting as big of a squeeze across the period of time. At first, it's not surprising to see it make that type of pop. Well, the headline that came out today on Viru, and again, it's not even like a bad headline from what I recall, unless if there's something else that just came out. All it says is traders circulate word that the FDA decision on Viru's COVID treatment, that the one that was going through the phase 3 clinical trial, is going to be decided on October 6th. Okay. That doesn't really sound like bad news or a bad headline. Well, that leads me to think that either there are some folks that know something that we don't, or it's pure speculation where people are just selling off whatever they ended up jumping in from back in April, May, June time and just dumping off just to take profit. Regardless of whatever the actual results will be come October 6th. Now, there is something that came out on this just really briefly. I want to take a quick look, copy paste. So Viru announces October 6th date for the FDA advisory committee meeting to review their emergency use authorization for whatever drug for COVID-19 patients. Yeah, there's no negative like headline that sticks out with that, really, right? It just says October 6th. Man, this thing took a huge hit just for that, announcement, but nonetheless, it is shortable. It was a hell of a short from the morning. It's back to the lows again here today. So, watch for support off of 11 here on the Viru trade. Great short across the day. In fact, it ended up actually breaking below big support just around 11 from the weekly chart, like around 1135, 1140-ish, just roughly around there from the weekly chart looking across those months. Just put it at 1130 for reference because right now it's at 1104. So, you could see on a bunch of these bars where it bottomed out around that price, above that price even. Well, today and this week, obviously, it looks like it's going to look to test around those prices for the weekly close. It'll be interesting to see what happens over time on this stock. Mark calling out GSAT here in the chat board alongside Carol, to which we'll get to that in just a second. I'll just look across the loser side here lastly. But again, like I said previously, I wouldn't expect for there to be a whole lot on the loser side here now at this point with the market running up as much as it has. Path was on the losers list to begin the day. Just wanted to look at this pretty briefly. It's like kind of just at the highs, but it's coming off bad news. How much higher can it really go? I don't really know. I wouldn't expect too much here at this point. It's traded a lot of volume here today. Perhaps it could be a better short. It is easy to borrow on TradeStation. All right, that just about wraps up, honestly, the loser side. There's actually a bunch more that looks easy to borrow, but they're all really cheap or not trading a lot of volume. And stocks we're not really too familiar with. Just wanted to briefly look at the loser side there. So Carol says GSAT pop, but it just pulled back, dropped back down. Well, looks like news came out. I think this is the one that Rich was pointing out inside the chat board earlier today. So I want to repost what he was talking about earlier. So he had called out the halt based off of news pending on this. Looks like this company ended up announcing a deal or partnership with Apple for satellite-enabled services for certain of its products. All right. So, this ended up just reopening up a moment ago. And with that, a big pop and pull back. We'll see what happens on this trade, but it's a great reminder. I appreciate that from Mark and Carol. And yeah, GSAT we'll throw on our watch list here. Actually, I'm just really quick. I don't have my book map open for this one. I'll get book map up once Rich jumps on the mic. I'm going to go on to a coaching call with one of our students, Michael, coming up at 3 o'clock. And look to hopefully follow this here, make a little money back here, get myself into the positive if so. And well, right now, really just not a whole lot of discrepancy between the volume being traded across these prices here at 240, 245, etc. So I would wait a little bit to see things simmer down a small amount, or otherwise, if it begins to hold better over 250, then look to try and take it from there. But I'd be a little patient here, even. Be a little patient there. All right, let's see what else we got, folks. Just checking across the trading room, checking across social media. Hopefully, you folks can hear me throughout this whole damn meeting. I started off with a small audio issue, and I've been paranoid since. I think I'm good to go. Hopefully, I am. All right, from Benzinga Pro, I don't really have much else aside from GSAT. Really, that was the main one. ATHX, this is not looking good at all. Let's go back to the side list stocks. The IMRA, right? IMRA is still holding well near the highs. Definitely now, since it's beginning to make this bounce here back over the 190, we're going to put this back on our list. IMRA. Bed Bath Beyond, maybe. I'll tell you what. I am going to put this on our list here for right now. The IMRA trade looks a lot better. GSAT looks more interesting. Viru looks better as a short than this does a long. But this stock really isn't trading a whole lot of volume today compared to what it has done the last, 2-3 weeks even. It's trading a lot of volume regardless, 37.5 million. That's a lot from, pretty much every stock. But, comparative to recent days and weeks, there could be more left in the gas tank. Keyword could. I'd feel more confident if it was closer to the highs. But, it's holding a steady trend. So it's hard to ignore this one here. And then lastly, the IQ. It's still moving up. I mean, hey, there's probably a lot that's looking like this at this point, but not as much that's up 11.6% that's looking like this. So it does have a lot of volume on the order book for it to cut through in order for it to become a faster, more opportunistic trade based off time. But I'll slip this one on as well. I don't remember the last time I put all stocks from the side list on the main list at the end. That might be a first. All right, folks. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to finish things up right now. I know that Fausto is finishing up his prep for the Phase 3 stock course coming up at 3:05 Eastern Time. I just finished up a small text conversation with him a moment ago, so I know that he's getting ready right now and in the classroom. But, aside from that, I know that for a few of us that don't have access to the Phase 3 stock course, you folks will be here in the trading room with Rich, and I'll be in the chat board here and there. I'll be on a coaching call, like I'd said, hopefully getting my hands on that GSAT trade. All right, folks. But aside from that, any questions that you folks have on social media, let me know. I always like to post my email at the end of these streams. Josh@ctutrading.com is my handle. If you if you're interested in joining our live trading room, that is, just go right down to the link on the yellow banner below of the stream right there to get yourself started. But I'll talk to everybody soon. From Michael and Leda and Ray and Carol and Grant. Take care.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9. Do it today.